NHL playoffs are finally here. One series is already set. The Pittsburgh Penguins, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I know the season isn't over at the time of me filming this, but it is set in stone that the Blue Jackets and Penguins will play each other in the first round. It is set in stone that the Blue Jackets will not have home ice advantage. The Pittsburgh Penguins will. Both these teams had a fantastic season. Let's go through a little playoff series preview. Who do you think's going to win? Stay tuned to find out my prediction. Now, like I said, both these teams have fantastic seasons, but the top four teams in the Metro have had fantastic seasons. I feel sorry for the New York Rangers because they've been in that third or that number one wildcard spot all year, because these other three teams in the Metro, Columbus Blue Jackets, Pittsburgh Penguins, and Washington Capitals, have been having such fantastic seasons. So you gotta kind of a little sorry for the Rangers. I guess not. You gotta go out and win your games. Suck it up, Rangers. That's what I say to that. Let's get into some of the statistics here. Sidney Crosby led this team in points once again. 43 goals for Sid. Gonna win the Rocket Richard Trophy. Again, I know that there might be 2 games left in the season. These stats might change a little bit when you watch this, but the series was set in stone, so I figured, why waste time? Do it today. Why wait till tomorrow? Sidney Crosby is going to win the Rocket Richard Trophy, which when I do my top 5 rankings of surprises of the season, that's going to be in there. Sidney Crosby, he's been a career past couple years, a 25-30 goal scorer, racking up a lot of assists, coming out and lighting the lamp early in the season, sustained enough goal scoring pace to hold off some other guys who were up and coming. But I never would have thought he would have won the Rocket Richard Trophy. Of all the players I would have picked going into the season, he probably would have been around 15th or 16th. He's just not really known as a goal scorer. It's a good, fantastic season from him. Evgeny Malkin had an injury there towards the end, but it looks like he's going to be back for the start of the playoffs. He was skating with the team during practice. That's good news. 72 points, assists, 62 games. Great point per game total. Should have been on the top 100 players of all time. Don't know why he was left off. Who really cares anyway? It's some dumb list thrown together by a bunch of idiot reporters anyway. So if we all did our own list, then we'd all come out different and we'd all be right because it's a subjective list anyway. Phil Kessel quietly having himself another great season. By the time this season's over, he could have 70 points. Looks like he's going to play in all 82 games once again. Doesn't really seem... And he came off surgery there in the off season as well. Phil Kessel always playing a full season, always putting in 20 to 25 goals, another 70-point season, quietly consistent. And you don't hear a lot about Phil these days, and I think that's good. The fact that he's not out there in Toronto anymore takes away some of the media pressure for him. The Penguins put a lot of pucks in the net this year. They really did. Great offense, good defense, great goal differential. You can see the rest of their stats as we go through their goaltending, led by, of course, Matt Murray. He split some time with Marc-Andre Fleury, both of them getting into well over 30 games, but I think they're going to go with Matt Murray for the playoffs. 32-10-4 is his record, 2.41 goals against, a .923 save percentage. He's going to need every bit of that .923 save percentage because he's going to go up against a really good player in Columbus. Let's go through our goalie in Columbus. Let's get into the Blue Jackets stats here, and we'll highlight a few players. Let's start with the goaltending. Why not? Because it's the button that I clicked. Sergei Bobrovsky. Look, this team to me starts and stops with Bob. If he doesn't have himself a great series, if he doesn't have himself a great game, Columbus might be in trouble. Now, they do have some offense. We'll get into that here in a second, but the goaltending is where it starts with this team. 62 games, a 2.02 goals against, and a .933 save percentage. That's absolutely incredible. By the time the year is over, that goals against could be under 2. A .933 save percentage through 62 games. That's consistent. That is consistent goaltending right there. And it's not just like, sometimes the stats can be misleading. A guy can make 10 saves, but they're pretty easy, shots from the beyond the top of the circle, no rebound given up, no screen. He just kind of swallows it. It's in his chest. It's the big saves that I envision Bobrovsky making. He makes a lot of big key saves at the right moments to keep his team in it. Fantastic goalie. In my opinion, should win the Vezina Trophy this year. He'll have some competition with Carey Price. Devin Dubnyk, I think about 3 weeks ago, probably would have won it, but Minnesota kind of tapered off a little bit there. towards the end. But Cam Atkinson have himself a fantastic season as well. 34 goals, 61 points. Great player. Alex Wenberg, the good young center. Look, what is he, 20 years old? I mean, when you come in at that young of age and come on a team and play for a John Tortorella, and you can play in 79 games, and not only that, getting consistent ice time, 58 points. Great pickup in Alex Wenberg. Good stuff for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Brandon Saad has once again, he had 53 points last year. He's at 53 points this year. That's the highest point total he's ever gotten in his career, is 53. And for some reason, everyone, when he left Chicago, everyone acted like he was just done. Like he wasn't good anymore. He wasn't this. He set career high last year in points and in goals, I believe. And now this year he could even escalate that even further. So Brandon Saad, again, kind of a quietly underrated player. Look, there's 30 teams in the NHL. If every team has 2 pretty good top lines, that's 6 players per team, so that's 180 players. I get that you can't cover every single one all the time. Certain players eat up more media time than others, but Brandon Saad, someone to look out for. Sam Gagner, perhaps one of the biggest surprises of the year. What he signed for the league minimum, I think, coming into the season. Coming in for Columbus, signing as a free agent. No one was expecting much out of him. Kind of a power play specialist for the Blue Jackets. 49 points in 79 games. Great pickup for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And also, last part we're going to highlight really quickly, Zach Werenski. My goodness. 47 points in 78 games. Again, young rookie, 19 years old, playing for John Tortorella consistently. 78 games. Absolutely incredible. We'll highlight him a little bit more here in a second. Pittsburgh Penguins, of course, are coached by Mike Sullivan. Mike Sullivan may have turned me into a believer that coaching actually matters in the NHL. I used to be kind of the believer that, whatever, the coaches can yap all they want, but when they throw the players out there, the players got to play. They're the ones that dictate everything. There's some truth to that, but I tell you what, he took that Pittsburgh Penguins team that was kind of laid back, kind of passive, kind of whatever, and turned them into just this high pressure, use the speed, pressure the puck all the time, roll the 4 lines, it's just, he's made me a believer in that coaching actually might mean something in the NHL. Good coach. Like I said the other day, if you took the Pittsburgh Penguins team now, they've had all these injuries as of late. Chris Letang's out, Mata's out, Daly's out, Malkin was out. If you took this team with the players they have now and put Mike Johnston, who was their coach last year, who was very passive, they would be a bottom-feeding team, in my opinion. But with Mike Sullivan in charge, he can figure out a way to get things done. Good goaltending helps too for Matt Murray and Marc-Andre Fleury. Like we said, Sidney Crosby, the captain of this team, led the league in goals. Kind of a surprising stat in my opinion, but going to be very significant to the Pittsburgh Penguins in this series. Brandon Dubinsky always seems to get under his skin. Those two have had some pretty epic battles in the past. Crosby doesn't drop the gloves very often, very rarely, but he does do it against Brandon Dubinsky, so that should be a good matchup to watch out for. Phil Kessel, like we said once again, healthy, consistent, in there year after year, led their team in points last year, so look for him to have himself another good playoff run. On that third line, especially if they can get Malkin back, you have Crosby, who's going to get a lot of attention. Malkin's line is going to get a lot of attention because they're 2 great players, obviously. But then you throw in, that might create some space, I think, for that HBK line if they play together. That is, Carl Hagelin, Phil Kessel, Nick Bonino. That creates a little bit more space for them. They can go out and plus the way that they play, again, with the pressure from Mike Sullivan, I look for that Phil Kessel line to play great once again. Goaltending, I was a little bit curious going into this season what the Penguins would do. Matt Murray, Marc-Andre Fleury. I was always kind of the believer that, look, Marc-Andre Fleury's been there, he's consistent, he's going to give you the same stats year after year. Save percentage of around 92, goals against of around 2.3. Year after year, you know what you're going to get from Fleury. Murray's a little bit more younger, maybe a little more inconsistent as far as, there's not a lot to go on, right? You got about a half a season in the playoffs. Now, they did win the Stanley Cup, but nonetheless, I worried about what route they were going to go with the goaltending. They went with Matt Murray, and it looks like that's going to pay off. Good goalie. have to wait and see, though. It's going to be a fun series. We'll talk about that here a little bit later. Justin Schultz, all of a sudden, he's like their number one defenseman. Crystal Tang's out. Mata's out. Trevor Daley's out. They did pick up Mark Streit right there at the free agency the trade deadline. That's going to be a huge factor going into this playoffs. Keeping that blue line together, keeping that blue line consistent. Can they do it? It's huge. I think losing Chris Letang is the biggest. Like, they could have lost their goalie. They could have lost, and then you could just slide Fleury in. You could have lost Crosby. That, okay, you still got Malkin and Kessel. You can juggle things around a bit, and vice versa, whatever. With losing Malkin, but losing Chris Letang, that's someone that ate up 28 minutes of ice time in the playoffs last year. That's gonna be very hard to replace. We'll have to wait and see exactly how that plays out. John Tortorella, head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Legendary coach for Columbus. We love Torts. We all know that. He used to be the head coach in, I believe it was Vancouver, when Mike Sullivan was an assistant for him. So these two guys know each other very well. They used to work together, and now they're going to be facing off against each other. Remember earlier in the season, Columbus destroyed the Penguins like 7-1, and I think when they were up 6-1, Torts put out his number one power play unit, and Mike Sullivan was kind of giving him the look like, "What you doing, brah? Come on, the code. You can't you got to put your fourth line out now because you're blowing us out." So maybe a little bit of gamesmanship there. Cam Atkinson, like we said, lead this team in points. One of the good stories. Someone that I like hearing these guys who kind of come out of nowhere. They're low draft picks. They sign as free agents. They're out of the league. They're in the league, and all of a sudden they come in and they play great. Torts has got him going. He's got the entire team going. So glad to see that with Cam Atkinson. Bobrovsky, like we said, this team starts and stops with Bob. .933 save percentage through over 60 games. That's consistent. That's consistent goaltending. They're going to need it because the Penguins have some high-powered offense. So you're going to need every bit of that .933 save percentage. Zach Werenski, like we said, I cannot explain how difficult it is for a defenseman that young to be playing over 70 games in the NHL to begin with, but then to be playing for John Tortorella. That is just unheard of. It's just mind-blowing. Playing defense is very difficult in the NHL. It's much more difficult, I think, than playing forward. And look, you play forward. If you're young, if you're 18, 19, and you're in the NHL, odds are you got a little bit of speed to begin with. Back checking is much easier than skating backwards as a defenseman. Judging the gap, judging the space, when to, the right angle to take, how fast, how much, space to give you and the forward who's oncoming, where to put your stick, all that stuff. Huge difference between the NHL and playing in, for the London Knights or something. So the fact that Werenski's played this many games is very impressive, and for a hard-nosed coach like Torts, love it. Brandon Saad, like we said, one of the other offensive leaders for this team. He's not a bad player. Everyone acts like he just disappeared once he left the Chicago Blackhawks. Maybe in the media's mind, or media's eyes, media attention, but he's still a fantastic player, career high in points, great young player from Pittsburgh, so maybe he'll have a little bit of hometown fans and hometown family in the crowd, pump him up a little bit. Should be a great series from Brandon Saad. Now, when these two teams play each other, they did go 2-2, a couple overtime games in there as well. The last game that they played was in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh won this game, and they had it with the team that they have, but they're probably going to go into the playoffs. So if I'm picking this series, to me, Pittsburgh Penguins, until they get knocked out, they're going to be the favorite in each series they go into. I don't care if they have a couple injuries. I don't care if Chris Letang's out. To me, they're still the champs. They just beat Columbus going into that last game, going into the playoffs, going into the series. They did it at home. They're going to have home ice advantage. It's not going to be easy. This series, to me, has 7 games just plastered all over it. 7 intense, hard, physical games. There's going to be some injuries coming out of this series. There's going to be some major hits, some major saves, some major goals, some intense overtime moments. This series, just in my opinion, my prediction, it's going to have all that written all over it. 7-game series, but I still do like the Penguins coming out of this series. Look, I love for Columbus to win. I do. I'm rooting for the Blue Jackets. I hope that they win. I love to see that team and that city finally get a playoff win or a series win, especially against the defending Cup champs. What better way to do it? Energize that market. I think they have a good team going forward for years to come. But if I'm betting my life savings, I think I'm still going with the Penguins in this series. That's all we got for today. Leave your comments below. Who do you think is going to win this series? It's going to be a tight one. It is going to definitely be a tight one. Who are some key people that we didn't talk about that you think might play a role? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll keep you posted with this series as it takes place. That's all we got for today, folks. We'll see you later.